Imagine waking up every morning not with dread, not with stress, not with a flood of worries, but with clarity, calm, and conviction. What if the very first thoughts you breathed into your being set the tone for success, resilience, and inner peace? Most people let the world decide how their day will unfold, but the most powerful among us, they decide their day before the world even opens its mouth, and that decision starts with what you tell yourself every morning. Let's begin with a truth that's both ancient and scientifically verified. Your thoughts create your reality. The words you silently whisper in the sacred moments after waking shape your beliefs, your focus, and eventually your destiny. Why? Because thoughts are not passive. They are instructions. They either command your spirit to shrink or they compel it to rise. Now picture this. Every morning, instead of reaching for your phone, you reach inward. You remind yourself of who you are, not who the world tells you to be. You remind yourself of what matters, not what's trending. You start your day not reacting to life, but creating it. That's what this speech is about. A call to take back your mornings. A call to plant seeds of power, self-awareness, and vision at the most fertile time of the day, when your mind is open and your heart is still unburdened by external noise. These are not mere motivational phrases. These are 12 declarations that act like a warrior's armor, silent, invisible, but undeniably strong. You'll find that some of these are truths you've always known deep down, but never said aloud. Others will challenge you. They'll call you to look deeper, let go of ego, and lead from your core. But why 12? Because each one addresses a unique layer of your life, your mindset, your emotions, your purpose, your presence, your discipline. 12 like the hours of a clock, one for every direction your day might pull you. With these, you won't just survive the day, you'll shape it. You'll stand inside it with presence, calm, and confidence, not out of arrogance, but from a place of deep-rooted alignment. In a world constantly trying to hijack your attention, your mind is the last frontier. These morning truths are how you defend it. Let's begin this inner journey of ownership, of clarity, and of discipline. Start each day with these declarations, and you won't need motivation. You'll become the motivation. When you tell yourself these powerful truths each morning, you're not just speaking into the void. You're reprogramming your inner world. The truth is, most people live on autopilot. Their first thoughts are of problems, obligations, or regrets. And what do they attract in return? More chaos, more heaviness, more of the same. But you are different now. You've chosen to step out of that loop. You've chosen to prime your mind like a warrior sharpens their sword, not in battle, but in preparation for it. Because let's be honest, every day is a kind of battle. A battle for your energy, your focus, your spirit. The difference is, now you're no longer showing up unarmed. When you tell yourself, I am enough, it doesn't mean you're done growing. It means you're starting from wholeness, not lack. When you say, I choose my response, you take back control. You become the author, not the reactor. And when you affirm, my peace is my power, you draw from a deep well of internal strength that no external noise can shake. These declarations are not magic spells. They don't eliminate problems. What they do is transform you, and that changes how you meet the world. Imagine the ripple effect. You walk into a room more grounded, and people feel it. You handle conflict not with heat, but with wisdom. You begin leading your life, not from stress, but from stillness. And day by day, those small shifts create a life that feels aligned, empowered, and deeply purposeful. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about removing the noise, so the real you can speak louder. The one who is already wise, already calm, already capable. And here's the real magic. These truths don't take hours. They take minutes, yet they anchor your entire day. As you begin to repeat them each morning, they become part of you. Not forced, not robotic, but felt, embodied. And the more consistent you are, the more automatic they become. That's when real change happens, not because the world changes, but because your lens does. You start to see opportunities where you once saw walls. You begin to respond to challenges with clarity, not panic. You begin to live deliberately, not reactively. So I invite you, Don't just listen to these words, live them, test them. See how your mornings feel different, how your energy shifts, how your relationships evolve. And most importantly, how you begin to trust yourself in a way that no external affirmation can replace. Every morning, you get to choose your direction, make that choice sacred, make it powerful, let your words guide your life. Let your mornings build your legacy. There is something incredibly profound and liberating in recognizing that the day ahead is still unwritten. It hasn't been spoiled by mistakes. It hasn't been blessed with miracles yet. It is entirely untouched, like fresh snow waiting for your footprints. When you wake up in the morning, before your phone lights up with messages, before the world starts demanding your attention, you're standing on the threshold of a completely blank page. That moment is powerful beyond measure, because it is the only time in the day where you are perfectly positioned between what was and what will be. Most people don't realize this. They wake up already buried under yesterday's regrets, buried under tomorrow's fears, buried under the pressure of having to fix things that may not even be broken. They look at their day as something that will happen to them, as if they have no say in it. But the truth is, you are the author of your experience, and the pen is already in your hand. The day hasn't been written yet, and how you begin it will determine how you live it. This idea isn't just motivational talk, it's psychological reality. The state of your mind in the morning is incredibly influential. Your brain is in a receptive and programmable state right after waking up. The chemicals that govern your emotional and mental patterns, dopamine, cortisol, serotonin, are highly sensitive during this window. What you choose to feed your mind emotionally and mentally becomes your lens for the next 16 hours. If you start with chaos, everything you see will seem chaotic. If you start with clarity, even challenges look manageable. When you say to yourself, "The day has not happened yet, I hold the pen," you are claiming responsibility. You're not predicting every event that might occur, but you are deciding your inner response to all of it. You are declaring that no matter what the world throws at you, you will decide how to receive it, how to react to it, and how to learn from it. That is the power of authorship, not control over life, but authorship over how you live it. And here's the thing, writing the day intentionally doesn't mean scripting every moment. It doesn't mean you won't get stuck in traffic, or that someone won't disappoint you, or that plans won't fall apart. What it means is that your identity doesn't get hijacked by events. It means you go through your day with an inner compass, instead of being dragged by every passing emotion or circumstance. Think about this. What if, instead of bracing for impact the moment you open your eyes, you took one deep breath and asked, "What energy do I want to live in today?" What if you paused and said, "Today, I choose calm. Today, I choose patience. Today, I choose to grow through whatever happens, not shrink because of it." The day hasn't written itself yet. That's your job. You get to decide the tone, the intention, the way you carry your presence, and that shifts everything. This practice also teaches you to separate what you can control from what you cannot. You cannot control how others treat you. You cannot control if life hands you a challenge or an easy path today, but you can control the energy you bring into the room. You can control the way you breathe when things feel heavy. You can control the way you speak to yourself during pressure. And those choices are the ink you write your day with. Those decisions form the paragraphs of your experience. You don't need perfection to write a beautiful story. You need awareness and you need intention. Many people live like victims of the calendar. They check their schedule and it dictates their mood. They see meeting at 9 and they already feel tension. They see deadline by 3 and they start to tighten up. But what if instead of being a prisoner to the structure of your day, you became the architect of how you show up in it? That's what it means to hold the pen, not to erase the meeting, but to walk into it as someone centered, listening, decisive. Not to escape the deadline, but to meet it with integrity and calm effort. And here's a deeper layer to this truth. Sometimes the most powerful writing you do in a day is invisible. It's not about accomplishments that others can see. It's the way you talk to yourself when no one is watching. It's the grace you give yourself when you fall short. It's the courage you summon when you're tempted to give up. These invisible lines of inner narrative, they matter more than the outer ones. Because even if your whole day goes wrong on the outside, it can still be a story of victory on the inside, depending on how you hold that pen. One of the biggest traps we fall into is believing that because something happened yesterday, it has to define today. That's a lie. Each day is a chance to change the narrative. Just because you were reactive yesterday doesn't mean you can't be peaceful today. Just because you failed to follow through yesterday doesn't mean you can't commit again today. The pen didn't fall out of your hands. You just forgot you were still holding it. So pick it back up, start a new paragraph, and if needed, start a new chapter. Even a few simple words can change the momentum of your day. I lead my mind. I am learning from this. I remain present. These are not affirmations for the sake of sounding positive. They are mental alignments, emotional recalibrations, and they remind you that you are never helpless as long as you remain conscious of how you respond. Ultimately, telling yourself, I hold the pen, is a commitment to live life awake. It's a vow to stop living on mental autopilot. It's an invitation to be deliberate, to show up not as someone reacting to every external event like a puppet, but as someone rooted, aware, creative, and free. Yes, the day may surprise you, but you will not surprise yourself, because you have already chosen your essence before the world chose your circumstances, and that is power. We live most of our lives surrounded by a constant stream of thoughts. They rise and fall like waves, some whispering, others screaming, many carrying memories, fears, hopes, worries, and endless chatter. Often we assume that because these thoughts are in our head, they must be who we are. We accept every inner dialogue as truth, every mental image as reality, every judgment as accurate. But there is a deeper truth that, once understood, changes the way you live. You are not your thoughts. This is not just a philosophical concept, it's a direct observation available to anyone willing to pause and notice. If you can witness a thought, then clearly you are not the thought, you are the one witnessing it. The voice in your head, the mental commentary, the memories that play like movies, the worries that come out of nowhere, all of those are mental content, and mental content is not the same as consciousness. You are not the cloud, you are the sky behind it, but here's where the power lies. Just because you are not your thoughts doesn't mean you are helpless. You may not be able to stop every thought from arriving, but you can guide the direction in which they go. You can't control which bird flies over your head, but you can stop it from building a nest in your hair. Thoughts will arise, that's part of being human, but what you give attention to, what you nurture, what you reinforce, that's your choice. That's your responsibility, that's your power. When you say to yourself each morning, I am not my thoughts, but I direct them, you are stepping out of the storm and into the stillness. You are declaring that you no longer accept every passing idea as truth. You are choosing to lead your mind instead of being led by it, and that changes everything, because here's what most people don't realize. The mind is a tool, not a master. Its job is to solve problems, analyze information, protect your survival. But if left unchecked, it becomes a tyrant over analyzing the past, worrying about the future, criticizing the present. The untrained mind creates suffering even in moments of peace. It imagines enemies when none exist. It finds fault where none was intended. It creates stories that may never happen, and then forces you to emotionally live inside those stories. But when you begin to direct your thoughts, you stop living in mental fiction. You bring yourself back to clarity, and this is not about pretending things are perfect. It's about choosing the perspective that empowers you to act, to grow, to stay grounded in reality instead of being swept away by fear or doubt. Consider this: if you wake up and immediately think, I'm already behind, or this is going to be a terrible day, your body reacts, stress hormones are released, your muscles tense, your breath shortens. You enter fight or flight mode, and nothing has even happened yet. The thought created the reality, But imagine instead waking up and pausing and choosing, today is a new opportunity. I lead my energy. Whatever comes, I will meet it with presence. Now your body aligns with that thought. Your breath deepens, your shoulders soften, your focus returns. You become the creator, not the victim. This is not fantasy. This is neuroplasticity in action. The brain rewires itself according to the patterns we repeat. If you constantly rehearse fearful or self-critical thoughts, your brain becomes better at fear and self-criticism. If you practice calm, direction, and presence, your brain builds those pathways instead. Your thoughts are not permanent, they're practice, and what you practice becomes who you are. But here's the key, you have to train it. You don't just think on purpose once and expect a peaceful life. You train the mind the way you train a muscle. Every time you redirect a negative spiral, you strengthen your awareness. Every time you choose a constructive focus instead of dwelling on what-ifs, you reclaim power. And eventually, you don't just think differently. You become someone who naturally focuses on what matters. You become someone who doesn't get pulled into every mental storm. And when people say, "But I can't help what I think," they're partly right. You can't stop every thought from arising, but you can stop pouring fuel on it. You can stop attaching identity to it. Just because a thought says, "I'm not good enough," doesn't make it true. Just because a thought says, "This will never work," doesn't mean it's wise. You can meet that thought, acknowledge it without judgment, and let it pass like a cloud across the sky. You are the sky. You are the one watching. And this also means you don't have to fight your thoughts. You don't have to get angry at your mind for being restless. You simply have to become aware of the habit and gently redirect. If your mind wants to dwell on fear, ask it, "Is this useful right now?" If it wants to catastrophize the future, ask, "What's actually happening in this moment?" Bring it back, again and again, until your default mode becomes clarity, not chaos. Over time, you will notice something remarkable. The thoughts that used to dominate you lose their power. The voices of doubt, the need to control, the endless replays of what went wrong, those become quieter. Not because you pushed them away, but because you stopped feeding them. And in that space, new thoughts emerge, creative thoughts, grateful thoughts, empowered, present, still thoughts. Thoughts that don't just react to life, but create it. And let's be clear, directing your thoughts doesn't mean lying to yourself. It means being honest with yourself in a way that's helpful, not harmful. It means saying, "Yes, this is hard, and I can handle it. Yes, I feel uncertain, but I can still move forward." You don't ignore the storm. You just choose to steer your ship instead of being thrown around by the waves. So when you tell yourself every morning, "I am not my thoughts, but I direct them," you are waking up as the captain of your inner world. You are reminding yourself that no matter what happened yesterday, no matter what fears try to creep in, you are not a prisoner to any of it. You are awake now. You are aware. You are deliberate. And from that place of clarity, you step into your day not as someone bracing for impact, but as someone creating meaning. One thought, one moment, one breath at a time. There is a dangerous illusion that has quietly crept into the minds of modern people. This idea that you must feel a certain way before taking action, that you must be motivated, that you need to be inspired, energized, emotionally fired up in order to move toward your goals or do the hard things. But what most people fail to understand is that motivation is fleeting. It is a spark, not a flame. It comes and goes. It is inconsistent, unpredictable, and often unreliable when you need it most. If your life is governed by motivation, then you will live in peaks and valleys, spurts of effort followed by long stretches of stagnation. But when you wake up in the morning and declare, "I am aligned with discipline, not motivation," you are choosing a completely different way of living. A steadier path, a path rooted in self-respect, not mood. Discipline is not about harshness. It's not about perfection or rigidity. It's about alignment. It's about choosing what matters even when you don't feel like it. It's about showing up for your life because you said you would. It's about keeping promises to yourself when no one else is watching. This is where real power lies, not in emotional highs, but in consistent, quiet acts of devotion to your own evolution. Motivation waits for conditions to be ideal. Discipline creates ideal conditions through repetition. Motivation looks for signs. Discipline makes decisions. When you build a life on discipline, you are no longer at the mercy of your emotions. You are no longer waiting to feel ready. You become the kind of person who acts from identity, not from impulse. You do what needs to be done because that's who you are now, not because it's convenient or because the stars are aligned. Think about how often we delay action because we're not in the mood. We put off exercise, meaningful work, hard conversations, or even simple habits because some part of us says, "Not today, I don't feel like it." But here's the truth. Feelings are not instructions. They are visitors. You can observe them, you can feel them, but you don't have to obey them. Discipline is what happens when you choose your principles over your passing moods. In fact, some of the most meaningful moments in your life will begin with discomfort. Growth doesn't come wrapped in comfort. The discipline to sit with discomfort, to move through resistance, to act in spite of fear. That's what separates those who live by design from those who live by default. Those who build the life they want from those who just manage the one they were handed. Every morning when you tell yourself, "I am aligned with discipline," you are setting the tone for everything else. You are programming your inner compass to look beyond temporary emotional weather. Rain or shine, you still move forward. That one shift changes your posture. It changes your choices. It changes your self-image. Because you start to see yourself as someone who doesn't wait. You lead. You start to trust yourself more. Why? Because every time you follow through, your self-trust deepens. Every time you rise above comfort and choose effort, your identity strengthens. Discipline doesn't just produce results. It produces character. And here's something most people misunderstand. Discipline is not about doing everything. It's about doing the right things consistently. It's about prioritizing your inner commitments. It's about recognizing that not everything urgent is important. The world will always try to pull you in 1,000 directions. But when you're aligned with discipline, you can stay focused. You can say, "This is what I said I would do. This is where I'm going." That kind of clarity is rare and powerful. You also begin to realize that discipline is a form of self-love. It's not punishment. It's not deprivation. It's structure that supports your greatness. It's boundaries that protect your future. When you wake up early to take care of your body, that's love. When you block distractions to do the work that matters, that's love. When you say no to what doesn't serve your goals, that's love. Discipline is the mature form of self-respect, the kind that doesn't shout but quietly shows up. And no, it doesn't always feel good. In fact, sometimes it feels boring, repetitive, hard. But that's the beauty of it. Discipline thrives where emotion fades. Anyone can start something when it's exciting. Few can continue when it becomes ordinary. But those who do, they master momentum. They create excellence not through bursts of effort, but through rhythm. Through small actions, done daily, even when no one is cheering. When you live by discipline, you stop chasing hype. You stop looking for shortcuts. You fall in love with the process. You become consistent. Reliable, focused. You're not constantly starting over because you don't constantly stop. You build slowly and deliberately, and over time, that builds a version of you who's undeniable. You also start to see the difference between discipline and force. Force burns you out. Discipline sustains you. Force demands results now. Discipline honors the long game. There is grace in discipline, flexibility. You're not rigid. You're rooted. You're not controlling everything. You're directing your energy. And that difference is everything. Another myth that needs to die is that discipline means saying yes to more. It actually means saying no more often, saying no to distractions, no to comfort zones, no to the voice that says later. Because every time you say no to what doesn't matter, you say yes to what does. You make space for the things that move you forward. And that's where discipline becomes freedom. It's not a cage, it's a key. Freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you want. It comes from doing what's required to become who you want. That means honoring your routines, following through on your plans, keeping your word even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching, because that's when it's real. That's when discipline becomes identity. That's when it stops being something you do and starts being something you are. So tomorrow, or the day after, when your alarm goes off and your mind whispers, just 5 more minutes, or we'll start tomorrow, you'll already know how to respond. You'll say, I don't need to feel ready, I am ready. Because readiness is not a feeling, it's a choice. It's a pattern, and you've chosen to live from discipline, not motivation. And if you fall off, if you miss a day, that's fine too. Discipline isn't about being perfect, it's about returning every single time. Without shame, without drama, just quietly coming back to what matters, again and again. That's what makes you powerful. So when you tell yourself in the stillness of the morning, I am aligned with discipline, not motivation, you are no longer looking for reasons. You are no longer chasing moods. You are living from a deeper place, a place of purpose, of direction, of grounded inner strength. That's the kind of life that doesn't just happen, it's crafted, one disciplined moment at a time.